Edwards's plan was by far the most comprehensive and aggressive insofar as it really committed the government to intervening on behalf of homeowners and resolving the crisis in such a way that it would keep people from losing their homes. Edwards called for a mandatory moratorium on foreclosures, a freeze on rising interest rates, a real kind of redoubled efforts to not only regulate the mortgage markets, but financial markets generally. Clinton and Obama fall short of that, and Obama falls short most significantly. He's the only one of the three who hasn't called for a moratorium on foreclosures or a freeze on interest rates, which really are the most effective short-term measures that can be taken to keep homeowners in their homes. And beyond that, his plan calls for the least aggressive government intervention, the most limited spending to bail out homeowners and to especially borrowers who are at risk of defaulting on their mortgages, and to help them restructure their loans in such a way that they're affordable moving forward. And his plan actually really most relies on a pretty insignificant tax credit, which comes out to about $500 on average for homeowners, which might make a difference for those who are just barely falling behind, but not for those who are falling further and further behind.
Max, in your piece, Subprime Obama, you talk about his three main economic advisors. Right. Tell us who they are.
Well, there are these three young economists, David Kuttner, Jeffrey Liebman, and Austin Goolsbee. Kuttner and Liebman are Harvard economists who hail from the Clinton administration. Goolsbee, who does the lion's share of the work on this issue, comes from the University of Chicago. They're all centrist market economists. I mean, what you would call them Clintonian in their politics, and that's really where they're coming from. They are oriented towards, market-based solutions to social welfare issues. Kuttner writes about incentivizing the healthcare industry as a way to improving care. Liebman has endorsed the partial privatization of Social Security. And Goolsbee also is one of the kind of market faithful.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about Liebman in particular, because I think that, from what I understand, he is proposing has proposed for a 20% increase in the Social Security payroll tax to, in essence, create private accounts for all Americans. It would be like the equivalent of dues checkoff for Wall Street. Yeah. It'd be an enormous windfall for the Wall Street firms to be able to get that kind of operation. But it's not clear. Obama has never said anything about this in the campaign trail, but his key advisor is known as the main proponent of this, right?
Well, a proponent of it. That's right, entirely true. And, Obama, I think what he says on the campaign trail on various issues of domestic policy are, not wholly in line with where these policy advisors are, but they clearly are animating where he stands on these issues like Social Security and the housing crisis, most notably, I think.
Robert Kuttner, can you weigh in here with these three economists that Max writes about in The Nation magazine, their significance, and especially on this issue of privatization of Social Security?
Well, it's very distressing. I mean, I think it was National Journal recently came out with a rating that showed that Obama has the most left-of-center voting record in the Senate. And yet, the advisors that he relies upon are, I would call them center-right. They're basically free market guys who want to use markets to somehow solve social problems, which is like squaring a circle. And I was just at a board meeting of the Economic Policy Institute, which is, the most effective left-of-center think tank in Washington. Except at the staff level, he's not reaching out to progressive economists. It's a fairly narrow circle. Same, of course, with Hillary. If anything, Hillary's advisors are a shade more open to reaching out a little further left. And you worry that as attractive as Obama is, as inspirational as he obviously is, he might be very centrist as president. And you wonder whether this is him trying to be the Democratic version of John McCain, trying to tone it way down in order to reach out to independents, or whether this is what the man really believes, or whether he's still a work in progress. May I comment briefly on the housing situation?
Yes.
I think the right way to do this is to reinvent something that was done during the 1930s, the Homeowners Loan Corporation, where the federal government, through a new agency, would buy back these bonds that are packages of subprime mortgages, buy them back at a discount so that the banks and the bondholders take a big loss, and then use that savings to turn them back into affordable mortgages. You can't do it just on the basis of a moratorium or on the basis of a freeze, because there's no practical way to renegotiate the terms of a mortgage if the mortgage has been packaged with other mortgages into a bond. And interestingly enough, Chris Dodd on the Senate side, who's no great progressive, is the guy who has been promoting this solution. Homeowners Loan Corporation in the 30s saved about 1 million families from foreclosure. It ended up refinancing about 20% of all the homes in the United States, and they simply used the government's own borrowing rate to make cheap mortgages available to homeowners who were going to lose their houses. Now, it's more difficult today. You can't just refinance something. First of all, you have to turn it back from a bond into a mortgage. But I think the level at which Hillary has talked about it and Obama's talked about it, it is superficial and doesn't really get at the structural problems. Now, again, the Social Security privatization issue, I don't think it's necessarily a terrible idea to have supplemental accounts on top of basic Social Security. The problem is that when the people who promote this take a close look at it, you realize you can't afford to do both, so it ends up coming out of Social Security. And you really do worry about the company that Obama keeps in terms of where he's getting his economic advice.
We're talking to Robert Kuttner, veteran economics financial journalist. His latest book is called Squandering of America. We're also joined by Max Fraser of The Nation magazine. When we come back, we're going to add to this discussion the issue of nuclear power. And where's the money coming from for these Democratic candidates on that issue? Stay with us.
They used to tell me I was building a dream, so I followed them all. When there was earth to plow, all guns to bear, I was always there, right on the job. They used to tell me I was building a dream with peace and glory ahead. Why should I?
Brother, can you spare a dime? Dr. John, here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez as we turn now to the issue of nuclear power. We'll play a clip of Senator Clinton and Barack Obama talking about nuclear power at the Democratic debate in Utah last July.
I actually think that we should explore nuclear power as part of the energy mix. There are no silver bullets to this issue. We've got to develop solar. I've proposed drastically increasing fuel efficiency standards on cars, an aggressive cap on the amount of greenhouse gases that can be emitted. But we're going to have to try a series of different approaches. The one thing I have to remind folks, though, of, we've been talking about this through Republican administrations and Democratic administrations for decades. And the reason it doesn't change, you can take a look at how Dick Cheney did his energy policy. He met with environmental groups once. He met with renewable energy folks once, and then he met with oil and gas companies 40 times. And that's how they put together our energy policy. We've got to put the national interests ahead of special interests, and that's what I'll do as President of the United States.
Senator Clinton, what is Senator Edwards, why is he wrong on nuclear power?
Well, first of all, I have proposed a strategic energy fund that I would fund by taking away the tax breaks for the oil companies, which have